And I want to pick up this conversation somewhere near the middle because, Booger, as we talked about this earlier this morning, it was clear that this bothers you, and it bothers a lot of people. And I want to try and get to the bottom of why.
Well, Greeny, I think it bothers me because I think we all know in our heart of hearts Tim Tebow can't play tight end in the NFL. So you have to ask the question, why are we doing this? And this is no disrespect to him being a great athlete, but like they tried this years ago when he was a better athlete, so he's not going to make it. So why? Why is he doing this? Why are you, someone who you care about in Urban Meyer, why are you bringing this undue attention on the Urban Meyer? Now, Urban has to answer to the GM, the scouts, the team. He's got to answer all these questions. This is coming off a questionable hire in Chris Doyle as a strength coach that you turn around and he fired or resigned a couple days later. So if you really care about Urban, Tim Tebow, you want him to succeed. So why are you accepting? That's part one. Part two is if you're Urban, didn't you learn from one of the first mistakes you made in hiring Doyle? Like, didn't you learn that this is not college? This is not a dictatorship. This is a partnership. You have to partner with your players. You have to partner with the coaches. You have to partner with the GM. And I want to see these young men succeed. And I think Urban coming out of retirement puts this organization in a situation where they have a lot of notoriety. Everything is kind of pointing up in Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence as the franchise quarterback. And I just think Urban is making some mistakes. And some of the players on a team that has a little talent are going to start looking at Urban sideways when it comes to this. And, you know, we can get to the point, Greeny, where we talk about he's taking up a roster spot from someone else. Here's the bottom line. There are 90 players on the roster. I can tell you 30 of them that aren't going to make the team the day we walk on the field at training camp. So I'm not bothered by having a player on the roster that's not going to make the team. We see that every year. I'm just bothered by having a player that's going to bring so much unnecessary attention and take the attention away from your number one overall pick. Take the attention away from some of the other players. I just don't understand why you would do it if you're Tebow to someone who you tell us you care about in Urban Meyer. So that's why it doesn't make sense on both sides.
Jeff Darlington, what kinds of things are we hearing from inside the building?
There's a serious disagreement within the building about the idea of Urban Meyer signing Tim Tebow. There are coaches on that staff who don't want to see it happen. And, you know, there are also, in the same breath, those who are saying, to Booger's point, it's not that big of a deal. Look, he's probably not going to be on the roster week one. To which you would say, well, then why do it at all? I think that Booger makes some really good points there. But it is just also important to remember, beyond the emotional side of this, beyond the wonders of why, is just the reality that it's really not practical. It's not likely to work, and it doesn't necessarily. Urban Meyer, I think, would say, well, hey, I'm going to add anybody to my team who has the potential to better this organization. To which you could look at this and say, well, how is this going to better the organization? There's just really not very much upside at all, to be quite honest.
If it's Tim looking to take steps towards becoming a coach, then you could theoretically just make him a coach. Go ahead.
And hire him as a coach.
Yeah.
Greeny, I want to jump in here because people around the country are probably wondering why every sports station, every radio is talking about Tim Tebow. Here's the quandary with Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow he was a really good college athlete who some people around the country think has been treated with a lot of privilege. Decent athlete that's been given a lot of things and a lot of chances. Other people look at him and say they love his story about faith and his relationship with God and perseverance and all these different things. The speech that he gave with Florida, and he's got his allegiance. He is polarizing because on one hand, everybody who believes in his values, they believe in Tim Tebow, regardless if he can play a down of football. And on the other side, you have the football people who say, you know what? Hey, it's great that you have your faith. It's great that you're a tough guy. It's great that you gave the speech, but you can't play football anymore. You couldn't hit a baseball. So why are we still talking about you? That's why the polarization of Tim Tebow is so big in America. And regardless of what station you're on today, regardless of what network you're listening to, the reason the opinion is so split is because of that reason. And that's why I think maybe that's why Urban is bringing him in, to take the attention away from Trevor Lawrence. I don't know. If he did that, to me, that's a dumb reason. You want the attention on your number one pick because he's got to be the face of your franchise for the next 10 or 15 years. But that's the reason why we're talking about it this morning. He's not a good player, okay? He's just a polarizing human, a polarizing former athlete that we can't stop talking about because the juxtaposition on both sides is just so strong, man.
That's well said, and it's a point well made. Mike T., let me come to you on personal experience. So it was 9 years ago when you were the general manager of the Jets. You brought Tim Tebow in. We talk all the time about the Tebow effect. Can you give us an example of what that actually was? What did it actually look like and feel like when he comes to the organization?
Yeah, I agree with what Booger said. Everyone had a strong opinion about Tim. You know, a lot of people thought we were smart. It made a lot of sense. Other people just thought it made no sense. Mark Sanchez was a young, successful quarterback. We actually brought him in to do some Wildcat packages. We had a very specific role for him, but it was amazing. He was very polarizing. People had strong feelings either way on him. And when we compared it to what we did with Brett Favre, it was actually much more magnified, which was a surprise to us given the legendary status of Brett Favre. And to that point, I think when he walks into that locker room, it's going to be divided. There's going to be huge supporters of his, Greeny, and others are going to be like, what is he doing here as a 34-year-old backup tight end?
It is kind of complicated. And so just to finish it there, Jeff, like, how does this thing go from here? He's just a player in camp. And to Booger's point, a lot of players in camp don't make it. He was in camp with the Patriots once upon a time and didn't make it. Is that the expected outcome?
Well, yeah, I can tell you that people in the Jaguars organization are trying to sort of level their heads in that exact thought process. Like, we're not going to get too hot about this because, let's be honest, it's very unlikely he makes it through training camp. And so I think that's exactly the point that we can make here. But, you know, we talked about it with Brian Gutekunst too. Every decision you make in the NFL has a chain reaction. Jordan Love had a chain reaction. This too has the potential for a chain reaction for Urban Meyer. It's just something that you're going to have to consider.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.